Hey everybody, so I'd just like to give a quick introduction to using the built-in help and reference in Max. Max has a manual of sorts, and that manual is built into Max. Now you might be saying, well, that's amazing. Why didn't you show us this earlier? Well, in continuing with the language metaphor, when we start out learning a new language, we don't use that language's dictionary. We use a translation dictionary, English to Japanese dictionary. It takes a while before you can use a Japanese dictionary to learn the definition of things in Japanese, because you need to be able to read enough Japanese in order to understand what the dictionary is saying. And Max is like that because the Max help files are in Max. So unless you have a certain amount of Max knowledge, the help files sometimes are not terribly helpful. But now I think we're at the point where we can start really utilizing the built-in help and reference features. So just take an object like our playlist tilde. If we right click it, it says open playlist help. And this opens a Max patch that is the help file for the playlist. And it's a functional Max patch, so we can play sounds from it. And when it opens up in this first tab that gives us a description of the object. It gives us a functional example of the object. And you can see pretty much everything we covered in my tutorial is covered here in this first tab. And also it opens up the reference pane on the right, where we can see all the messages that it receives, all the attributes that it has, and some see also objects, which is really, I think, one of the best parts of the built-in Max documentation, is you can let one object lead you to another object, like jit.playlist, which we already know, but it's a related object, so it's here. sfplay, which is another way of playing sound files, mc.sfplay for playing multi-channel sound files, etc. And this, this C also is not exhaustive, but if you go to another object in this list, it will have its own C also, which will lead you to more objects, and that just becomes a branching tree for exploring Max. But also, most of your Max help files have multiple tabs. So you get the basic functionality and description here, and then as you click through, you get more information and more features of the object. So here we learn about making selections and scrubbing within the sound. Here we get more information on playback, playing back the clip using an integer, which you're already familiar with, and playing a clip using a signal, which you're not familiar with, but it functions in the same way. Also, the relationship between playlist and presets is covered in this panel. Playlist and display type is covered in this panel. So there's some nice features and attributes that are demonstrated. Now, the help file doesn't show you everything that the object can do. That is in the reference. So you go to this question mark here, and you have your see alsos, which also appear at the bottom of this reference. And then you have this open reference. And this opens up a text-based reference. And this is the most manual-like part of Max. It begins with a description and discussion, tells you what arguments the object takes. In this case, since it's a graphical object, it takes no arguments. Then it goes through and describes all of the attributes, and then describes all of the messages that the object accepts, and what those messages do, and what arguments are necessary to the message. And then it describes its output. And then again, here at the bottom, we have the see also, but this time the see alsos are not linking to another Max help file, they're linking to another Max reference file. So jit.playlist will take us to the reference file for jit.playlist, where we get all of that information spelled out in detail again. And if we then want to open the Max help patcher, click open help, and it takes us there. And one of the really nice and useful things about the fact that the Max help is actually a Max patch is, if you find something that you want to use, you can unlock the help patch, copy it, and paste it into your own patch. And you can see I've got my font size set large. So it copies in with my larger font size setting. And then you've got this functional max that you copied out of the help patch so you know it works, and you can play with that and modify it within your own patch. So, now that you have the groundwork in place to utilize it, this becomes a really powerful tool for working in Max. And sometimes there's stuff that you will always copy from the help patch, like for instance, the MIDI parse object. I just always copy this out of the help patch, even after all these years of using it, because it's just easier than making it myself. So whenever I need to parse MIDI information, I just grab that from the help patch and use it straight out of the help patch. And there's a lot of cases where you're going to find what's in the help patch is just great for copy and paste for day-to-day use.